IPMNation.com.
Live from the Outpost Studios in Columbus, Ohio, you're listening to All Natural Being with Brian Brawdy. Brought to you by IPMNation.com. Get ready for the gong heard round the world.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
All Natural Being. Warning, All Natural Being with Brian Brawdy is designed to shake your sense of self to the core.
It's full context psychology with an empowering twist, a philosophical loofah for your soul.
For those of you not ready or comfortable releasing your inner superhuman, listener discretion is advised.
Here's your host,
Brian Brawdy.
Good morning. Welcome to the final, well, at least this episode, the final hour, but we have 4 hours left to go if you're keeping track of our 24-hour marathon, what we're calling the ramp up to the record. Let me say hello quickly to Jenny. Good morning. Lee, good morning as well. Thank you so very much for joining us. We're into episode 319. And what's interesting is we still haven't quite figured out the internet yet. We've restarted we've done everything that we could to try to figure that out. So it's just kind of, you do all these 299 shows, no internet cutting out. Then you do one show and the internet cuts out just about every time we try to go live. So my apologies if the internet's bugging you. Believe me, it's bugging me. So, but you don't forget, you can go to IPMNation.com/A&B now. You can get the audio. So if the internet decides, I don't know, originally I thought it was just because everybody and their brother was up and using the internet, but we've changed cables, we've changed, we reset the box, we did all kinds of things. So it looks like we're up running for now. So we'll leave it there. Maybe the best bet is just to go ahead and try to switch cables and see if that helps. We'll look at that in the next hour. But we are into episode 319 of All Natural Being. Now just 3 hours and 54 minutes left. And I want to thank Lee and the good folks at Sales Copy Academy because they provided the timers that we have here to keep us honest so that we know exactly how much time is left, exactly what we've got to do. And we've got a really cool show. It's not the net or you, it's Facebook. Oh, is it really? Huh, well, that would be interesting. Thank you, Jenny, very much. I never thought of that. Could very well be. Didn't know that. Are they having a tough time? Are they? It would be interesting to see if it's, if the same things happen over on YouTube. That would be interesting. But yeah, I've been racking my brain. And you look over here, you can't tell here, but you look over here at the camera and you see that little red light comes on. It means the signal's been interrupted. So again, my apologies, but do yourself a favor. Go to IPMNation.com/A&B for All Natural Being, A&B now. And then we don't have to worry because the A&B signal is, the radio signal is streaming just fine. Nobody's cutting in and out there. So I don't know what's up with, how are you doing? How about a Brian report? Well, I'll tell you what, Jenny. We're doing pretty good. Ashley called in at 5 o'clock to check on me, which was nice. She wanted to know what was the recap of the show. Happens with Matt's show as well. Interesting. All right, I'll have to look into that. But I think things are going good. I took a break. As you know, we get 20 minutes every 4 hours. I went 16 hours. So we took about an hour and 10-minute break. I tried to take an hour cat nap, 10 minutes to work with the internet, everything else we wanted to do. And I have to tell you, I woke up, no problem. but no alarm. I woke up 10 minutes before the alarm went off. So I'm really pleased. I have to tell you, when I lied down, I was a little concerned about my voice, right? Because at that point, I've been talking for almost 18 hours. And I'm very thankful that we had all the guests, the people calling in, because they helped to do a lot of the heavy lifting, right? A lot of the cool people that had called in all day yesterday and last night and this morning. We had a great time. But as I say, they helped me do some of the heavy lifting. And I was a little concerned when I looked up at the clock and says, oh, you've got 6 hours left or 7 hours left or the like. I was a little concerned, would my voice last that long? So a part of How Are You Doing? The Brian Report, no headaches. I forced myself to lie down, but I was really more worried about my voice. And then this morning when Ashley called in, Sue was in the thread as well. And what I've decided that when we do the 81 to win, when we do the ramp up, I need to force myself to stick to those breaks. Even though I may not feel tired at the time, I'll do my 12 hours, take the hour off. Do another 12 hours, take the hour off. Because I got to be honest with you, when I looked at 9 hours tonight and went, great, I'm 1/9 of the way to the record, I was like, you have got to be kidding me. And even as it would stand right now, I'd still only be 2/9 of the way there, right? So I think that I would need to find a very judicious way to say, okay, when you have to hit a break, you hit a break. Don't go over a little bit. And I didn't want to bump Matt. I didn't want to bump everyone to the wee hours of the morning. But I think that's what I'll do, is make sure that we plan in our breaks a little better. All right, let's take a quick call. Good morning. Thank you for joining us here at All Natural Being. Who do we have?
Hey, Brian, this is Lee.
Hey, Lee, how are you, sir? Top of the morning to you.
Well, I've had 5 hours of sleep and you haven't, so I'm doing a little better than you right now. No, you're doing fantastic. I'm really impressed with how you're holding up there, so that's awesome.
Thank you, my friend. And I have to tell you, Ashley called at 5 o'clock to check on me, and she said, you never came to bed. What are you doing? And I think, Lee, as we get ready for the 81 to win later this fall, I think what I'll do is, when I get to 12 hours, I'll take my 1 hour break. Because to be honest with you, brother, I went ahead and lied down because I was a little worried about my voice. But I don't think I fell asleep right away. I never really felt as if I needed the sleep. But I imagine you go for 81 hours, that's a long time in anyone's book. So I think what I'll do is have my breaks every 12 hours, and I will make myself take that hour break no matter what. What do you think?
Oh, absolutely. I'm not exactly sure the number of hours before the lack of sleep really starts seriously impacting your health.
Sure.
And to the point that I'm sure you know that in ancient China that sleep deprivation was used as a form of torture. To be honest. So that's not something I would recommend. We don't want this to be an excruciating experience. You got to keep Brian upright and alive and well. So
Well, I'll tell you, the thing that really was concerning to me, Lee, was that I know I can't make. Good morning, Heather. Thank you very much. Good morning, John. Good morning, Chris. Thank you very much for joining us here at All Natural Being. Jenny, as always, thank you very much. I think one of the main concerns for me, Lee, was that I can't go, as you know, I can't go more than 8 hours, absolute max, because I need gravity to help the brain shunt work.
Sure.
And no matter what the neurosurgeons say, they go, oh, don't worry, you have one of those gravity siphons or anti-gravity valves or blah, 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 blah. Doesn't work like they say. So if I'm horizontal for 8 hours, the spinal fluid backs up and my brain just feels like it's a balloon that's about to pop. So I have to tell you, I was really concerned that the inverse would happen.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
So that you could be standing for so long, and Jenny says, yes, please don't break my Brian. Laugh out loud.
Yes.
So I was really concerned, brother, that if I stayed vertical for too long, the inverse would happen. Maybe the shunt would work too much and it would vacuum out spinal fluid. But I got to tell you, I feel great. Drinking the hydrogenated water. I've got my H2 bevs. I've got the different things that I'm doing. You know what I mean? In terms of supplements throughout the night and everything else. But I feel way better than I thought I would at this time. And as I said, I took a break because I was more worried about my voice than I was anything physical. So I'm happy to report that I think we can do it. And another thing I wanted to ask you, Lee, is what would you say, like, you did your 24-hour thing. You're in the month of September. But maybe the month of October, like if you get ready to run a marathon, you don't run the marathon. You run shorter races up to it. And then race day, you're going to have to go all out. In October, do we do 36 hours? Do we do something where you kind of get to even halfway, right? Do I do a 40-hour October just to get an idea of what it's going to be like? Or do you think it's just too torturous? Do you think you get out with a 40 and you go, wait a minute, I'd have to double that? Do you think that philosophically it's just too torturous of an idea? Am I better off just gutting it out and going for the 81?
Wow. I honestly think that incrementally stepping it up is probably, there's a huge leap between 24 and 81.
Boy. Well, I've seen the pictures of the young lady who get it, and she's like in a chair. She's all slumped over. The people from Guinness are standing on both sides of her, handing her the plaque. And she looks like, right? She doesn't even look like she could stand up. Doesn't even look like she could sit up straight. And I know Ashley's never going to go for that, right? I mean, it's nice. I get to slam, as you know, 1049theriver.com. I get to slam them for not returning my calls and emails and everything else. But she's not going to let me push the envelope if it could kill me. But I'm pleased to report again that after all this time, vertical, no headaches. And it's really, other than the fact that I could probably stand to take a shower. You know what I mean? When you've been up for a while, you're just like, I want to get clean up, I want to wash my hands, that kind of thing. I'm really pleasantly surprised that I feel as good as I do. So let me ask you, what are you doing up so early? I know that you have a big day planned, a lot of running around to do. How's everything going with you since I spoke to you last?
Oh, well, I can't say that much has happened in the last 7 hours.
Some drool, like right. Some drool on my chin maybe since I spoke to you last, things like that.
I mean, most days anymore, and you actually inspired me to do this, Brian, I'm usually up by 5 at the latest, and most of the time 4 o'clock, because I find that window between 4 and 8 or 9 a.m. when the rest of the crazies wake up, that's my time when I can just dial in and be my most productive and give my best work. So then, by the time everybody else is up and slogging around, a good bit of my work's done for the day, or at least the creative writing work. There's all kinds of trying to stay active on social media and stay in everybody's face and all that good stuff.
Boy, it's a full-time gig, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
Holy cow.
Carla and I were talking about that yesterday. It's just, how do you get any work done when you have to pound so hard on, staying visible and staying in front of people? And that's, as you say, a full-time job in and of itself.
You got to wear 11 hats. You know what I mean? You're busy doing this, you're busy doing that. And I can tell you from being here in the studio, when people go, well, who produces the sound? Who monitors the board? Who does this? Who does that? And you can tell a couple times that I've messed up. Right? If I had someone that was here doing the sound, it would be a little easier, right? All I got to do is just wait to see the little red light. Hello, say hello, and do your shtick. But you're right. When it comes to being a professional in this day and age, an entrepreneur, and most certainly a copywriting entrepreneur, your day just never ends. There's always something to be doing. And Lee, do you ever get to the end of one of those days and you've done 1,000 things, but you look back at the end of the day and go, I just didn't get enough done? You ever do so many little things that at the end of the day you go, yeah, I got all this achieved, but I really didn't get much done? Ever have those kind of days?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, because I'm wired to be the world's worst delegator. Realistically, it's I tend to instinctively go with the mantra, "Screw it, I'll do it myself."
Screw it, right, right.
But it's when I can discipline myself to let go of those things that I'm not so great at, or that I'm not expedient at. That was a terrible turn of phrase. Anyway, those things that I don't do fast and don't do well, and just let go of those things and let go of a little bit of the control, then just life goes so much easier.
Sure. Well, as you said, expedient at, that was a terrible turn of phrase, but the term terrible turn of phrase was a great turn of phrase. So I loved it. You might go, I screwed, right? You get expedient at, that was a terrible turn of phrase, but you saved it. You pulled it from the fire right there at the end. But I'm a lot the same way. And, I used to think, Lee, that it comes from us going, okay, I just can't find anyone to do it the way I want it, so I'll just do it myself. But then as I got older, I started to believe maybe it's us, right? Maybe we're drinking our own Kool-Aid, so I just can't find anyone to do it better, so I'll do it myself. I know exactly how you feel. And one of the things that came out last night, I was talking to my brother John late last night, 1:00 this morning. He said one of the things was, I just like if there's anyone to blame, I'd like the blame to be mine, right? So when I set out and say I'm going to do it, if it goes south, it's my fault. I don't have to point the finger at anyone. I can say, okay, I'm going to do this. If I don't pull it off, I get no one to blame but me. And I don't mind that kind of setup in life. I got to tell you, I don't mind being my own whipping boy, if you will, when I in fact deserve it. If there's something that didn't turn out the way I wanted to, I like the idea of going, don't blame him, don't blame her. It's on me. I'm the one ultimately responsible. And I don't know, I kind of dig that, I think, or at least I've grown addicted to that mindset of wanting to be the one, because the flip side of that is when it comes time for applause, then they're all yours too. So whether it's acrimony, right? Whether it's whether people are slamming you or giving you a thumbs up, it's all on you, and I kind of dig that.
Okay. Well, but let me ask you though real quick, and just out of curiosity.
Mm-hmm.
So, what's the magnitude of that acrimony toward yourself compared to what it would be towards somebody else? So let's suppose we have a glitch that's made, during a broadcast, and somebody else is responsible for the mistake. And are you more likely to look at them and go, oh, okay, stuff happens? Whereas if it was your own mistake, you would really dig in with the with the castigation,
Dude, absolutely, I know. I always go, don't worry about it. Water, what is that? Water under the bridge, water on a duck's back or whatever. But yeah, if it's me, and I've had my family and friends go, why do you got to be so tough on yourself? Why? Because if I don't, who else will be tough on me? But yeah, if it's someone around me that makes a mistake, I go, don't sweat it. Keep your head in the game, right? Or just, there'll be 3 more quarters. Let's just get it done. But if I make the mistake, I go, Bri, really? 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 Did you just do that? So I don't harp on it for long, right? I think most of the people that are close to me, or people that have been friends of mine for a while, would say, I have a short fuse when it comes to incompetence, but it blows itself out instantly. Like, I don't hold a grudge. Someone asked me the other day, we were talking about this whole thing about John McCain and his funerals and all the different people that he or his family or everyone else didn't want there. I don't have any grudges. I get it out. I say what I want to say. And to be honest, Lee, what's most infuriating to me, and I have to work on it, is that if you say you're going, like you go somewhere, and I'll tell you this one. I went over not too long ago, and I don't want to throw the company under the bus. The name of the company isn't important, but it's a place where you go to have a cell phone glass fixed, right? If you break a glass on your cell phone. Well, Ashley, I'm sure Ashley dropped her phone, but in any event, I said, give me your phone. I'll go get it fixed. I don't want you being out and about running around and not have a phone that'll work. So I go over and I hand it to the guy at this particular store, and there's a big sign, oh, we fix cell phones. Oh, okay, great. Thank you very much. Oh, it'll only take 30 minutes. Oh, okay, great. I'll sit here and look at batteries and flashlights, and, I'll look at all the other tchotchke stuff you have here around. So 30 minutes turns into 60, 60 minutes turns into 90, and he goes, I'm really sorry, I got behind. And I go, that's okay, no worries, right? So I've blown 90 minutes of my day, but I justify it to myself going, I want my wife to have a phone that works, so I haven't really blown it, come to think of it. So then he hands me the phone back, right? So at 90 minutes, he turns around and he goes, oh, here you are, Mr. Brawdy. And he hands me the phone, and I go down, I hit the little circle in the beginning, if you have an iPhone, that little thing that powers it up, and it doesn't power up. So I look down at the phone, I look at the guy next to me in line, and I look over to this guy who now it's been 10 seconds since he handed me the phone. And I go, the phone doesn't work. And he looks at me, Lee, and says, you ready for this? He looks at me and says, well, what did you do to it? It was just working a moment ago. That's the kind of thing that steams me, because your gig, your job, your calling, apparently, in life is to fix phones. I didn't ask you to come and cut my grass. I didn't ask you for a manicure. I didn't even ask you to make me a double cheeseburger. I asked you to fix the freaking phone. That's your job. That's your gig. That's what you signed on the bottom line for. So that tends to get to me more, where someone will just look at you and then blame you for it. And they go, well, what'd you do to it? What did I do to it? I turned to the guy in line, Lee, and I went, what did I do? I held my hand out. You put the phone in my hand, and I reached over to hit the button. What did I do? What did I do? What did I do? What did I do? What did I do was walk in here in the first place and think that you were competent enough to do what you said you were going to do. That's the thing with me, right, Lee, where if it's your job, right, if you're a patrolman, it's your job to make arrests, right? It's your job to do your job. So that, to me, I think I tend to be overly compassionate until I think I go to them to provide a service, and if they can't provide the service, all I ask is, why can't you find someone who can provide the service, right? Or get a job at a pizza place, right? Go screw up someone's pizza order, not my wife's iPhone. And I think I paid like $100, if I remember, for him to say to me, honest to goodness, Lee, well, what'd you do to it? I was fit to be tied. I was like, and then to add insult to injury, he goes, well, it's, we're getting ready to close. Would you mind leaving the phone overnight? And I was like, yes, I do mind. Let me tell you how this is going to go. You're going to fix this phone right now, or you don't leave at the end of the day. That's simple. I've been here for 90 minutes. You accuse me of breaking a phone in under 2.2 seconds. I want the phone fixed. So that's a little bit of the thing with me, where I tend to be compassionate if I think it's an honest mistake. But if I think you're not up for you're not doing your job, you're not doing what you say you would do, I probably could use a little longer fuse, a little longer fuse than I have. How about you?
I'm right there with you. Willful incompetence is a big sticking point with me as well. Mistakes happen. I make plenty of them all the time, and there's some of them that turned out to be my favorite things ever. But willful incompetence, and especially apathetic willful incompetence is will send me to the moon. And that's something I've struggled with too. For years. I was like, I've studied Zen, Buddhism, and I've studied Taoist philosophies, and then the meditation, and just spent years thinking that I could somehow work that part of me out of my system to where those things just wouldn't send me through the roof.
Right.
I think all you can do is just manage it, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't.
Well, I got to tell you, a sensei of mine years ago told me that sometimes compassion is only compassion if it has teeth. Here's the thing. If this guy fixing the phone, right, if he isn't passionate about his job, if he had gone to hand me the phone and it slipped out of his hand and it fell and exploded all over the floor, wouldn't have bothered me. I'd go, oh, man, it was an accident. No worries. What do you got to do? What do we got to do to get the phone fixed? Right? But when you say it, and you say willful ignorance or however you look at it, that I tend to go, compassion is compassion when it has teeth. If he doesn't like his job It's time for him to get a new one. I'm not a bad guy. I'm just saying, if you don't come to work, I don't come to work thinking I'll do something, go to hand it back to the client, and in under 2.3 seconds, it already doesn't work the way I said it would. I don't do that. I'd expect someone to have some teeth and their compassion and go, Bri, yeah, high-end auto mechanics isn't your passion, right? You don't even know how to change a spark plug. I'm not even sure if you could find them in a car, right? So I'd go, yeah, you're absolutely right, right? Even with 104.9 The River, I said, yeah, I'll volunteer to wash cars. I'm not a mechanic, so you don't want me anywhere near your garage, other than for maybe if I can vacuum out some cars. But if if it's an accident, I'm more than understanding if it's something that I think you should free yourself. I've said before, I've never fired another human being. I've never been in a position to fire someone. I've let a lot of people go to find their passion. I haven't fired people. I've freed people to go and find what it is that they can do for a living to put a smile on their face. But I've never, at least I don't believe, that I've ever fired anybody. I free them to find what they're going to be brilliant at, right? What they're going to be great at.
That is an excellent way of looking at it, definitely.
Well, because if not, you and I are busy going, how do we carve that part of us out? Right? Okay, how can I learn to be better? I have to suffer that incompetence. Has to be on my time, my dime. I have to suffer that incompetence. You know, I told you this big thing about the tariffs the other day, and I'm like, are you kidding me?
Right.
Right?
Right.
So we got to carve that out of ourselves, or we can just go, yeah, I have a short fuse. It goes off, but then I move on. There's nothing to carve out, right? We just, because you and I don't hold grudges. We don't let it ruin our day. We make our point and we move on. At least that's how I view it.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. The not holding a grudge is something that I've worked on over the years. For the most part, I can let things go fairly easily, but there are times when those things will crop back up a week later or a month later.
Sure.
At the most inopportune times. It's a good 10, 15 minutes of me stewing about something before I finally stop and go, well, wait a minute, and when you lose sight of that mindfulness, when you lose sight of being aware of the chatter that's going on in your brain, that's when things can spiral out of control quickly, and it's not only detrimental to your mental health, it's detrimental to your physical health as well, as I'm sure you know.
And the people around you, right? And the people around you, your loved ones, sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
So, you can't be effective, when you are in that state. So, I've actually had to work on simplifying the tricks to bring myself down out of the stratosphere when something like that happens. I mean, it's different for everybody. For me, it's just a matter of a few words, which is for me taking a deep breath and saying to myself, releasing emotional attachment in 3, 2,
Wow.
1. And
Good for you.
That's really, if I can remember to do that. Now, remembering to do that's the hard part.
Is the hard part, sure.
But, once I can say, stop and go, what? No, this is what you need to do. Then that one simple thing, and it takes less than 5 seconds. It's just, and for me, it's like hitting a reset button for your emotional state.
So releasing emotional attachments, you just go RIA. Right? So you go releasing emotional attachment, RIA. And if you said, that's a really great point. I never really thought of that. For me, I just like the idea of going with it, right? And then I'll calm down and go, okay, I've made my point, right? But there'll be times where Ashley say, okay, why don't we just go? And Ashley does a great job for me where if we're out, she'll like block for me. Right? She'll be a bodyguard. She can see it start to build on my face, and she'll go, oh, why don't I handle this? Why don't I talk to this? Why don't I do this or that? And I go, great. Thank you, sweetie, very much. I appreciate that. Let me say good morning again to Heather. Let me say good morning to Patricia. Patricia, I think you're on your way to a gig. Didn't you tell me you had somewhere to be this morning bright and early? Thank you for hanging out last evening. Henry, good morning, sir. nice to see you here in the timeline. You must be full-on recovery mode from all of your judging duties and all your cooking duties yesterday. Lee Henry was at a cookout in Texas, a barbecue kind of thing. And he was sending me pictures of, oh, well, here's this and here's that. And it made my mouth water. My stomach was growling a little later in the day. So it's nice to see Henry up. It's nice to see Patricia up and about. Thank you. Thank all three of you, as a matter of fact, for calling in yesterday and everything you did to help be the pacers, to help get me through what is now the final 3 hours and 27 minutes to our 24-hour marathon. So let's do this, Lee, because you and I will talk about how our wives have to block for us all the time, right? How our wives are always like, okay, I'll take it from here. But let's talk about Sales Copy Academy, because I'm so excited about this. You'd be surprised the number of people that said, oh, yeah, I would love to learn to write. I would love to learn that type of creativity or the ins and outs of those types of things. So can we talk a little bit about Sales Copy Academy? Because I think people, they're just going to be blown away when they learn that there really is a science to your brilliance, right? It's because people want to say, oh, it's easy for Lee. He's a born natural. No, I think he works pretty hard. There might be a natural part of his work ethic. There might be a natural part to Lee just grinding it out till he gets what he wants. But there's no born natural when it comes to writing copy. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Oh, well, absolutely. So this is a fairly new thing. As I've said before, I've actually been doing sales copy for 10 years. And for about 6 of those years, I kind of stunk at it. It was taking a lot. It was just buying into that whole template-based thing, and this is what you're supposed to do: is take these things that are already done for you and just fill in the blanks and ship it off and go on to the next person. And seeing somewhere around there, it's just like, okay, this is not fulfilling me anymore. I'm actually starting to resent what I'm doing, and to resent my clients because I constantly had because cheap prices attract cheap clients with cheap thinking.
Interesting.
So it was the thing where I was bringing in all these clients, and then some of them were nice people, and some of them obviously were not so nice. But day one, it was just hey, can you do this in 6 hours? Hey, I've got an emergency, and why there would ever be a copywriting emergency in the history. I don't understand. Exactly,
maybe your brief is going in front of the Supreme Court for a stay of execution.
Yeah, right. So I don't know, but so that, and they didn't have any value. They didn't have a whole lot of value in the copy, with that, or somebody had told them, look, you spend a couple $100 and get a sales page, and then all you can do is slap it up there, and then by this time tomorrow you'll wake up and you'll have $2 million in the bank or whatever, and it doesn't work that way.
Can you put me down for one of those? I'll take one of those when you get back.
Right? Yeah, I'd be cranking those out for myself all day long if it works like that.
Right? Isn't it? What does they say? Those that can do, those that can't teach. You're absolutely right. Right? If we could do that, you see these. Oh well, here's my garage with here's all my bookcases. Here's this and that, and I'm thinking, yeah, well, if the formula were that great, you'd be nailing it to yourself. And the last thing you'd do is give up Colonel Sanders' secret fried chicken recipe. You'd be keeping it all for yourself. You wouldn't be giving it away. I'm with you.
Yeah, exactly. So then, that's what it is. I get so sick of it that really I actually contemplated going back and getting a job.
Can't do that.
Parasite.
Right.
So that's what I really took. And at the time, I owned the Sales Copy Lab. So I had 4 copywriters working for me, and I offloaded a lot of my stuff and just had them write it, and I would proofread it, and they would send it out, and it was okay stuff. But I took that time, about 18 months there, while I had copywriters doing all of the client work for me, and just like, okay, I'm going to go in and I'm going to figure out how to write copy that actually works and that doesn't make me feel like I need to go take a shower afterwards, or as you say, wear the latex gloves.
The latex. I still have them here for you, and I saved another pair. So if you're going to write that kind of copy, we can put latex gloves on. To make sure we don't give ourselves something.
Right, exactly. What do we say? It's the cognitively transmitted diseases.
Cognitively transmitted diseases. You got to watch that gray matteria, right? You've got to you don't want a bad case of that. That'll hurt.
Right. So what I found during that 18 months was, just to I mean, not that the fundamentals of copywriting. Again, I always go back to the guys in the 70s and 80s who did the direct mail. I mean, they invented a lot of the what they call hooks. I mean, the headline tricks and the this and the that and the sneaky little things that you put in there to manipulate people. It's like, a lot of the structure is still valid, but there was something that just for me was really missing, and that was, the connection element.
Sure.
Of being able to, not just talk at your reader, but have a conversation with them.
Sure.
Through your copy. I mean, it can be super tough to create that conversation when it's one-sided. I mean, they're reading words on a page. How can it be conversation, right? But when you can understand where they're coming from, what they're thinking, and what they're feeling, then you can create that conversation because you can show them that, look, I understand, and you can say, hey, tell me if I'm wrong, but I think that because you're reading this right now, that you're going through something, whatever it is that you're proposing to solve, and it's really just eating at you. And, you're probably dealing with some of these things, for example, I'm in the Sales Copy Academy throughout. I'm using the rheumatoid arthritis niche as an example, okay, just to show how these things actually work, because I don't believe in just telling you what to do and then expecting you to take me at my word that it actually works. I'm going to go through and actually show you that it works, because if you can't do it with confidence, then it's not going to work. And if I can show you that it does work, then you have that confidence, and that's half the battle.
I imagine so.
So for the example in the rheumatoid arthritis niche, I went in and actually really started listening to what people were talking about who are dealing with that, and they're not just talking about the disease, the condition itself. They're talking about all of these other ancillary aspects of their lives that it's affecting that I never would have thought of. I mean, I obviously have osteoarthritis and the back surgery and all that, but it's a totally different thing to have rheumatoid arthritis, because it's an autoimmune disorder and affects every aspect of your health. So it's also affecting your relationship with your spouse. It's also affecting your relationship with your kids. It's affecting your ability to do simple things like sometimes pick up a pen and write a letter. It affects your ability to sleep, and the sleep makes you feel even worse, and the lack of sleep keeping your body from repairing itself and keeping, so you've already got an immune system issue. And the lack of sleep is compounding that. So all these little things around it, and just be able to take those things and just paint a picture of what their world looks like through that copy, and then to be able to paint a picture of what the world can look like with your help is a powerful thing. And it's not. I don't want to say it's not manipulative. I mean, all sales copy to some degree. You are leading people, but I don't know if I would say it's to a level of manipulation. But you're creating that conversation through showing understanding, and then you're gaining their trust enough to be open to the solution that you're presenting.
Lee, Heather says in the feed, question for Lee: do you do anything with POA? Is that a term you're familiar with? P period, O period, A period, they're all capital.
I'm not sure.
Yeah. Heather, could you be a little more specific for Lee? Yeah. Could you, because I don't recognize that acronym, or I'm not sure what that means. Could you let us know? And then while we're waiting on Heather Lee, I remember that for me, when people say, oh, how did you get all these television appearances? How did you, right? Well, I have a publicist, and the publicist gets me the television appearances. But before I had a publicist, I always had to write copy for the I didn't know that's what it was called, but I had to get a television producer to think that, I'll put it this way, I would try to identify the headaches that the television producer had in a particular moment of time. And then I would simply offer an aspirin. I'd offer some Tylenol, some ibuprofen, whatever you want to call it. I'd offer a relief to that headache. And so I never went in with a pitch to go, oh, you should put me on TV because I want this. Heather says, I'm sorry, Heather, you're absolutely right. That's exactly what it means. She says, power of attorney. Question for Lee. Okay. Do you do anything with power of attorney?
Okay. That was actually the first thing that came to my mind because, as you know, I have an insurance background. No, to answer your question, no, I do not.
Heather, so hopefully that's helpful. And then, yeah, well, that, you know what that means? That means that someone else is passionate about doing power of attorney, and we'll find out who that person is, or we'll direct Heather in that direction. What I realized very early on in terms of pitching to people in the media is that I would find the headache that they were focused on in that particular moment in all of time. And then I would go, I have the aspirin for that headache. I can make that headache go away. I can, whatever your concerns are, whatever you think your viewers' concerns are. And I remember when I've been so fortunate so many times in my life, Lee, when I was hired by a company called Ex Officio, and they wanted to launch a clothing line and apparel. I think at the time it was called Buzz Off. And it was insect repellent apparel, right? Where they put the permethrin right into, you're welcome, Heather, thank you very much. They put the permethrin right into the clothing, and for 70 washes, mosquitoes, ticks, chiggers, flies, ants, no-see-ums, nothing liked this material. And so I went and shot a commercial in the Everglades in Florida where the mosquitoes were just on me. But as soon as I put on my insect or Buzz Off from Ex Officio, mosquitoes, couldn't even get them to come near me. So what happened was it happened to coincide with the very first case of West Nile. So what did I do?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, exactly. By the end of the 6-month gig, I was averaging 4 television appearances a day. I'd go to a city and go from ABC to CBS to NBC to NBC to Fox. I would just go around because everyone, remember back in the day, Lee, when they would lead every newscast in the country, even the national outlets were leading with number of people that contracted West Nile today, number of people that contracted. So all I did was target the sales in the states that had the greatest number of West Nile cases. So that when I would go into a town, people go, well, how'd you know to go to that town? Well, because I checked with the CDC. The CDC said yesterday 450 people were diagnosed with West Nile. Well, you better believe I was at a Eastern Mountain Sports, or I was at a REI, or I was wherever, because I knew at that point the news people are you kidding me? Are you 500 people now have West Nile? What do we got to do to get on top of this? Oh, by the way, Mr. Producer, have I mentioned Insect Shield? And when you do it that way, they're like, yeah, great. Can you stay for the 5 o'clock and the 6 o'clock hour? Right? So when you identify what their headaches are going to be, they fall all over themselves to make sure that they can book you to be on their show. And when I met you and you started talking about copy, I think you and I are talking the same thing, slightly different in terms of who the client is. But if you do it right, you don't have to beg. You just do the sizzle. You do what you can to quell their headache, and they'll line up to interview you about whatever it is that you're offering a cure for that day. So I would imagine it's probably the same thing when you talk about wanting to write copy that will ultimately, and I've thought about this a lot since you were on last night, copy that's ultimately good for humanity, good for the client, good for the people using the particular product or service. Then you identify what's the headache. And as you said, if you have, if you have rheumatoid arthritis and you can't fall asleep, so your body doesn't even have a chance to go through its normal healing cycle. So you're just compounding. You're adding insult to injury. Well, imagine if you're writing copy and you've taken the time to think through that, what that means. Imagine people read your copy and go, oh, he's got to have it, or he's just like me, or he knows exactly what it's like at 2:30 in the morning when you wish all you had was insomnia. And then they go, that's just brilliant. He knows exactly how I'm feeling. And I don't think that's salesy. I don't think that's manipulative. I think to find out what's really hurting people and try to let them see that their relief is in reach. I don't think that's smarmy. I don't think it's salesy, and I don't think it's manipulative. I think you're doing what you can to help a fellow human being, right? Unless you're writing like, I don't know, sales copy for Kleenex. I think, you write whatever it could be. But I would say that that's what I've learned from you is you write with your audience's pain in mind and what you're going to do to alleviate their discomfort, their pain, their desire, whatever it is, you write to accommodate their feelings. Is that about right?
That is true. That
Okay.
is true. But again, there has to be the confidence in the solution too.
Sure.
Very early in my copywriting career, the low dollar prices attracted a lot of these. I just quit my McDonald's job this morning, and now I'm going to get on the internet and be a millionaire by this time tomorrow.
Right.
And 9 times out of 10, the way they were going to do it was by teaching other people how to be millionaires by this time tomorrow morning. and it was, it was, creating the pain wasn't hard. I mean, there's no shortage of people who hate their jobs and
Sure.
want to be free to travel and spend time with their kids and actually have a life and get away from the soul sucking grind and the boss and the thing like that. I mean, they can go on about that all day long, but knowing that the solution was not a solution at all, I mean, it makes it impossible for me to do that. I mean, some people can do it and do it great, and they don't mind that they're taking people in an already bad situation and leaving them in a worse situation because now their wallet's empty. But
Sure.
That's as you say, dishonorable
Right.
to do that, to basically put people through a dog and pony show, and then they find out there ain't no pony.
Right. And they have an empty wallet to boot.
Right.
Yeah. No, I absolutely agree with you. Absolutely agree with you.
Yeah. So to get the circle back to where we were like 20 minutes ago.
That's the danger of talking to me. I can't. Sorry, my friend. I can't keep focused. We have so many great thoughts. They pop up and I run with them. I'm like a dog with little shiny, right? Little shiny things.
Right. It's the rabbit hole.
Right.
Oh, look. Yeah, absolutely. So Sales Copy Academy, that's what we're focusing on, is creating that copy that you can feel good doing because you're actually helping people. I mean, whether you're writing it for yourself, you own a business, or you're copywriting that personal branding, brandpreneur space, as we call it. Typically the one-person shows, the authors, the speakers, the coaches, the consultants, etc. Then that's what we're empowering people to do, is to get away from the sleaze, to get away from the used car salesman tactic, but to still be successful as business people and be successful in creating the impact that you want to create. Because, I mean, honestly, it doesn't do you any good to have a talent. It doesn't do you any good to have specialized knowledge if you're not using it for the betterment of the very people that you want to serve.
And it could very well be just serving your family, serving your loved ones, serving the people around you, that if you want to be good and you want to make it work, you have to be consistent. So even if you look at it in terms of, here's the betterment for my close-in circle, then it's like ripples in a pond. But if you always take the end user in mind, what can I do to help them out of the situation they find themselves in, then I think that's what makes your copy so powerful. And you do, as I said to Dana last evening, you do bring a good bit of comedy to it as well. I think I think everyone looks at copywriting and go, it's got to be crafty. It's got to be, there's got to be a hook. There's got to be this or that. But you do it with comedy, right? Like I've been laughing all night long. Keep your mitts off that browser, right? It's just, you right. It caused people to chuckle and they remember that.
Well, yeah, actually, it does. And if it can lighten the mood,
Sure.
Especially when you're talking about a serious topic, then why not do it? I mean, if that's part of your personality, if that's not you, I wouldn't recommend just go out and try to be funny just to throw it in there as a tactic.
Right.
But if that's naturally who you are, use it. And if you're in your element, if you're creating in a space that you're passionate about, then it's going to be powerful. And it doesn't have to be Hemingway.
Sure.
It's not like you have to spend years and years and years learning, literary whatever. It's really just about having a conversation like you and I are having now, and also knowing what you're not good at, and as I say, either delegating that or staying away from that. Once in a while I will still get a corporate. A corporation, a CEO or something come in and say, hey, I want you to write this corporate copy, or I want you to write a white paper, and so forth. And I'm falling asleep having the conversation. There's no way. It's like, okay, yeah, there's money there that they're putting on the table, but it's not going to do if I can't do the full good for them,
sure.
if I can't do justice for what they want to accomplish, then I'm better off reserving my talents and my energy and my expertise for somebody that I can go all in
Sure.
for.
No, that makes absolute sense. And it allows you to be selective in the clients that you pick, which in the end, it all comes down to time, right? If you have so many hours in the day, like you're talking about getting up, we get up really early to get our stuff done. There's only so many hours a day, and you can't fill those hours with subpar clients. And I don't mean subpar pejoratively. I just mean people that aren't going to appreciate what it is that you're doing in the first place. So you've got to find, right, as you say, oh, pay me $100 to write a sales copy page, right? You've got to find those people who's elevated their game to such a degree that they're on the same level with you as a copywriter. And that's just doing a service to everyone involved, I would think.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, it is.
And then, so before we get ready to go, and I thank you so much for hanging out with us again this morning, give us an idea. So we know that we have Lee Words, and a couple of people commented on that last evening. Lee Words will become, if not this coming Wednesday, then a week from this Wednesday, will become a regular segment on All Natural Being Wednesday evenings. And then we're going to look at the Copy That Speaks podcast. Although we were kind of kicking it around the other day, we like the idea of, I think Livecast is taken, or Nowcast is probably taken, but Instacast or whatever those ideas come up with. I like the idea of it being live, because then you can whiteboard. Someone might write in or call in and say, hey, here's the topic. Here's what I'm working on. Here's what's been done. And then they can just watch you kind of work your magic at a whiteboard. We kind of banter it back and forth. And maybe once a week, if that's how often the podcast goes out, one lucky winner will get a chance to hang out for the hour, and we'll see what we can do to work out something that would be a benefit to them.
Exactly. And I've done that for some of my clients, where I've gone in, and if the clients who are coaches have brought me into their inner circle, so to speak, as a guest, because I've got a lot of coaches who train other business owners, especially newer business owners who are just trying to build their brands and trying to get their own visibility. So they'll say, Lee, will you come on for an hour and just let people rapid fire their ideas at you?
Okay.
In fact, I did one that was just about, we spent 2 hours just talking about how to name your signature program. And we're talking like, trying to create 10 words here.
Right.
10 words,
Right.
But the nuances and complexities in that can be astronomical.
Sure.
And it's not uncommon during those things for me to spend 10 or 15 minutes just working with one particular person and just generating the words that work. I mean, that convey the message, that build the interest, that have the right cadence to them to be memorable.
Well, now you asked me the other day, when we were talking about it, and that's why I call you an artisan with the alphabet, or an architect with the alphabet, right? That it's that nuance that you look for in communicating what you're writing. So I think that's another reason that your copy is so powerful, is that you really look at it as artistry, right? Of crafting a sentence, or crafting a group of words, or crafting a tagline. So I think everyone that's going to be exposed to Sales Copy Academy is really going to dig it, and I'm confident that they're going to enjoy Lee words, and I'm absolutely certain they'll enjoy Copy That Speaks. So Lee, we're going to go ahead, run to the top of the hour. Thank you so very much for joining us last night, and then again this morning, and of course, thank you for being the official time sponsor. Where are we at now? We've only got 3 hours left. So thank you so very much for keeping me honest, keeping us on the ball, and doing everything to be the official time sponsor of our 24-hour ramp up to the record. I super appreciate your time and your expertise. So thank you so much. Have an absolutely fantastic day.
Well, thank you very much.
All right, and stick around because you're going to hear something else here in just a minute. Before you go, here we go.
Hey there, this is Lee Rowley from Sales Copy Academy, and you're listening to the live 24-hour all-natural being marathon with my good friend, Brian Brawdy. Keep your mitts off that browser tab, because Brian will be right back after this short break with another solid hour of all-natural shenanigans on all-natural being. Stay tuned.
I absolutely love that, Lee. Thank you very much. Have a great day. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks.
All right, brother.
IPMNation.com.